Hey everyone, and welcome to Recharge the Podcast. I'm David Coe. My guest today is a multi-platinum recording artist and actor. And while he's known for being 1/3 of the hugely popular Jonas Brothers, there is so much more to him than hit songs and sold out tours. He's an advocate, he's a philanthropist, he's a husband, and like me, a girl dad. So let's recharge with Nick Jonas. Nick, how you doing?
Good, David. How are you?
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time today. I like to ask all my guests before we start just a quick question. And I wrote a whole book about this in a podcast, which we're having here today. It's called Recharge, and the book's called Recharge. And it's all about thinking about your mental health battery, just like a phone battery. And so, just a quick question for you. How is your battery? And is it low, medium, high, and why?
Such a great opening question. Really allows me to kind of frame the whole conversation. So thank you for that. It's actually pretty high. I'm going to go close to an 80, 85.
Love that.
Always a little room for some improvement there. But, just to catch you up to speed real fast, we're on the road right now. Had been for about 3 weeks. Shows are incredible.
Love that.
The fans have been just so amazing. And, performing live is really the reason we do what we do. Getting in front of our fans and having those moments means a lot. But then outside of that, I got to see my family yesterday after a couple, about a week and a half away, and that always makes the battery go way up.
Oh, I love that. I just dropped off my own daughter in New York, and I have a little anxiety right now because I half expect her to join our videotaping right now because she is such a fan, Kaylee. And she's like, Dad, I'm flying back just to jump on this thing because I want to say hi to Nick. And I was like, I'll say hi for you. You don't have to do
Well, please tell her I said hi. Is this her first year in college or
It's her first year. It's been a whirlwind.
wow, exciting. It's got to be a crazy feeling as a parent too.
It's crazy, crazy. Well, listen, November is Diabetes Awareness Month. And with all the folks that are listening here today know, because you've been so open about this, that you were diagnosed with that over 20 years ago. And I had read that one of your brothers actually helped you to get diagnosed. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was 13 at the time. We were on the road playing a school tour, which basically meant that we would roll into a school auditorium about 8 a.m. and play a 4 or 5 song performance. And then there would be a talk afterwards done by a professional person in this field about saying no to drugs, basically. And it was, I think, a roundabout way to get us to get in there to perform was the anti-drug message, but all good things at the end of the day. Anyway, I started to notice while we were on this run that I was losing a significant amount of weight. My attitude really had changed, and for the most part, I was a pretty happy kid, certainly well-mannered and I would say friendly. So it was really out of character to be so irritable and thirsty all the time, using the bathroom quite a bit. So all the signs now that I know are related to symptoms of someone with type 1 that doesn't know they have it yet.
Right, right.
And so I went basically with my brother to the pool one day while we were on tour at the hotel we were staying at, and he saw my back, and it was basically skin and bones, and
Wow.
really got concerned and told my parents we needed to get me to a doctor right away. Because I was kind of one of those kids who was like, it's probably just a weird growth spurt, or I'm just
Mm,
getting over a virus.
mm,
Really knew nothing about type 1 diabetes, which is why after my diagnosis and my few days in the hospital where I learned how to manage the disease and learned all about what my life was going to look like now, I very quickly wanted to use whatever platform I had to be able to speak about the disease and the management of it, and try to be perhaps, the person that the 13-year-old me in the hospital, scared to death of what was next, had to look up to. And so Diabetes Awareness Month has a lot of significance to me, not just because of my passion around advocacy and awareness, but also because I was diagnosed in the month of November, and this year will be 20 years, believe it or not.
wow. Thank you for sharing all that. So much has changed over the last 20 years in terms of how you can manage conditions, whether it's through technology or how you think about it with medication and so forth. What are you doing today that's kind of different than what you've seen over 10 years, or over the last 20 years?
It's really changed every couple years, I'd say. You know, at the beginning of my diagnosis, uh, I felt really strongly about managing it myself and being really independent. Um, I think as time went on, I started to lean on my community a bit more.
Hmm.
You know, started with my medical care, my doctor, and my diabetes educator, but then also, you know, my family and my friends. And as I got older in different stages of my life, you know, throughout my teens and then my early 20s, and then now into my 30s, my management of the disease has changed so much.
Hmm.
And one of the things that's been most helpful, to be honest, is the technology and how much the technology has changed and evolved. And one aspect of that is my Dexcom G7, which is really a game changer. And for those living with type 1 or type 2, I'm sure they'd all agree. Having access to information, having data in real time in any field, in any situation, is going to change the game and improve your care and your ability to live life, uh, you know, unencumbered by something that really has you making decisions every couple minutes about the management of your disease and affects your mental health and all these other aspects. So I'm really grateful for the tech and how far it's come, and the fact that I get to partner alongside Dexcom to speak about it and just add that extra element of awareness.
Yeah, for those folks who don't know what Dexcom is, do you mind just kind of explaining what it is and kind of the whole CGM kind of industry around continuous glucose monitoring?
Yeah, I'd love to. So when I was diagnosed, you know, we were pretty much limited to finger sticks, which is, you know, the traditional way you go to the doctor's office.
Right.
They prick your finger and they draw the blood, and then you get a real-time reading of what your glucose is.
Mhm.
Someone that isn't living with type 1 or type 2, normal range would be around 70 to 120. You know, that's slightly different for people living with the disease because it's really a moving target a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But what changed the game is when you were able to wear a wearable device, a sensor that stays on in 10 days and gives you real-time readings and very accurate readings, you know, every few minutes. And then eventually that evolved from its own separate device to now we have it on our smartphone or smartwatch.
Right. That's right.
And you know, you also have the ability to share that information with your doctor or your friends or family. So for someone like me who's traveling as much as I am, I think it gives my wife a lot of peace of mind, knowing that she can be in Kenya shooting a movie like she was last week, and being able to look at her phone and see where I am in real time as I'm out on the golf course, you know, before a show with my friends, exerting all that energy. But it's come a long way, and the strides that, you know, we've even made in the last 5 to 7 years have been pretty incredible.
Well, that is truly one of the benefits of technology. There's a lot of drawbacks to it, but that is one of the benefits. So I love hearing that. And thank you for sharing that. You know, you've been such a public figure. And since you were, as you were talking about, just a child over 20 years ago. And obviously that comes with challenges, that comes with being in the public eye. But you've been so open about your own personal health journey. And so I think for all of us, thank you on that. But when you talk about diabetes and your own journey, what do you really want people to take away from that experience? Because you've been so public with it.
I think that one of the things that I try to speak about with newly diagnosed families, you know, it's not just the individual that's affected, it really
Yeah.
is, you know, the family. And because type 1, you know, predominantly I'd say, or a good portion
Mhm.
is juvenile diagnosis, right? So it's someone who's leaning on their parents or their caretakers to walk that journey with them,
Yeah.
is really to take everything in stride. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself early on to beat the disease, or to sort of like dominate it in a
Mhm.
way, to win. And I got to a point where I realized that as much as I can, you know, do the best I can on a day-to-day basis, this is an unpredictable thing. And you've got to be willing to take some pressure off yourself and say, some days are going to be better than others, and it's not my fault.
Hmm.
And that unlock for me was key to get to a point where I wasn't down on myself if there were days where my numbers weren't where I wanted them to be. You know, and then that's, again, that extends to the family as well. Anytime in any situation you try to grip something so tight, naturally it's just going to create more tension and friction,
That's right.
and make the journey harder. So finding a way to like just take your hands off the wheel a little bit and say, I'm doing the best I can, and that's enough for right now, is
Yeah.
key. And then on the bigger, broader spectrum, you know, there's a big global outreach happening right now with the nonprofit that I co-founded called Beyond Type 1.
Yeah.
Two parts of the world that are underserved and overlooked, as far as obviously technology goes, but also, the access to life-preserving or life-saving medication, for both type 1 and type 2. And I'm really excited about the work we're doing. We've been operating now for 10 years. This is our 10th anniversary this year, actually. And
Amazing.
to extend sort of beyond our community of awareness and the building that we've done here with the resources we've created for newly diagnosed, or even people, in their early 20s who are trying to navigate, okay, I'm going to go have a drink with some friends tonight. What does that look like with the management of my disease? That part's been great, but now looking at other parts of the world that really need to be amplified and been, be given a platform to do that life preserving and life saving work.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned Beyond Type 1, and thank you for doing that because you've taken this a step further. You've gone out, you've not only been an advocate for people and children around Type 1 diabetes, but you've also gone out and co-founded a company around this, which is Beyond Type 1. And congrats on 10 years. That's absolutely incredible. What does the next 10 years of that organization look like for you?
Well, I think that the global outreach is huge, and we've got a really robust and wonderful board of directors on there that are helping us build out some great relationships globally. And then I think, I want to be a part of the growing story around the mental health effects of type 1, something that I probably overlooked a little bit early on.
Mm.
And as I began my own journey separate to my diagnosis with, working with a therapist and even, building a more sustainable foundation for me in my walk as a husband and a father, and professional sort of balance. Um, I think that being a part of that story around the mental health effects has already been pretty gratifying, but there's a lot more to mine there. And I think, it's just about collaborating with people that know what they're talking about, which is why I was so excited to chat with you today. And,
Oh, love that.
I'm sure after this conversation, there's even more things we could talk about down the road, and, the cross sections between all this. But, yeah, those two are probably the things I'm most passionate about in the next 10 years.
I love that. And you just hit on something as we just maybe transition to the conversation around mental health. At Calm here, one of our goals has always been to be with you in your mental health journey. And we've really come to understand the linkage between your physical health and your mental health. And it's not just us saying that, it's institutions like the Mayo Clinic, for example, saying that if you have diabetes, that you are 2 to 3 times more prone to have depression, and that only about 25 to 50% of people that go out there get diagnosed and treated. So people are still kind of living with it, but not understanding, like you were at an early age, like how to even get diagnosed or recognizing that they have it. So as you bring up those things around awareness, it's so important. But let me ask you, like, when you've had diabetes now, how has that affected your own mental health and or people that you know that have it around them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think if you're prone to being hard on yourself, and even, situations where you sort of more align with being a perfectionist, then I
Yeah.
think you're teed up for a really tough journey ahead, because as I mentioned earlier, it's just as in control as you are, there are things that are just going to happen that frustrate you and confuse you. For instance, you know, I could have a coffee in my late teens and 20s, early 20s, and it would have no effect on my glucose. And then
Mm.
as I've gotten older, I'm seeing that, oh, I'm now spiking after I have a coffee. And so I'm living by my same expectations from 10 years ago, early in my 30s, and that's just an unrealistic thing. We don't do that in other places, and we can recognize that, oh, my mental health is being affected today because I'm frustrated. I'm not being as present as I want to be for the people that I love with the limited time that I have. And so then the anxiety can creep in.
Mhm.
Um, and it really is the compiling of the little things that add up to create, I think, situations where you don't feel inside yourself in the way you want to be as a person trying to just navigate life. And um, I think that ability to take some of that pressure off is helpful, but it's also about just doing some of the work. I try to get a regular cadence, same with my therapist, but Obviously, it doesn't always happen in the frequency, the cadence you'd like. But just making those efforts and having conversations with people that you look up to walk through kind of not just the journey with type 1, but also just mental health in general. And I'm fortunate to have a lot of great people around me who I can trust to give really balanced and thoughtful feedback, you know.
Oh, love that. Love that. Hey, so how do you, with everything that you have going on, take care of yourself? What do you do to take care of yourself and in your with your mental health?
There's a few different things. There's things that I used to look at and say, "Oh, that's a privilege or a luxury that I'm saying is now beneficial to my mental health," and I'll explain that because I know that could be taken out of context.
Sure, sure.
But taking the time to go on a nice long walk.
Oh,
Like as a parent, 30 minutes to yourself is always a privilege. It's time you're not usually afforded. But I've had to say, okay, if she's down for a nap or say she's out at school for the day, I'm gonna walk to pick her up and take that time for myself to either listen to a podcast or listen to music, or listen to nothing and just hear the birds chirping.
that's right.
That's done a lot for my mental health. I think, obviously a regular cadence and speaking to a mental health professional is
Sure.
is always good, a therapist or life coach or whatever, your thing is. It's been good for me. And then, I'm in the best sort of flow when I'm moving my body, not just on a walk, but if I'm getting a good workout in or going to play 9 holes of golf if I can, or just something that brings me joy, gets my blood flowing, and often I have to tie it to a competitive thing. Like I joined a softball league here in New York just because I wanted to get out there and be in the fresh air and move my body around. But if I don't feel like it's, like there's something to win at the end, it's hard to get out of bed at 9:45 to go play. There's a lot of things that I look at the game of golf and then life, and I go, wow, there's a lot of similarities. If I could apply the same carefree energy I do to my golf game now, because I know I'm never going to be excellent, then maybe it would open me up in my art and in my, creative life, and maybe it would like allow me to be a little less hard on myself, But it's a journey. It's all a journey.
That's so true. It is a journey. Hey, so you're on your 12th, and congrats on this headline tour. And you were just saying earlier when we started about you being on tour right now and how great it's been. We took a look at your schedule, and it's just crazy. You're doing something almost like every other day, performing different cities. It's just awesome. And so I can only imagine how exhausting that must be for you. Is your physical and mental routine any different from when you're on tour to when you're not on tour?
It definitely is. Tour sort of takes over your life, right? And it's not like a normal 9 to 5, of course, but in some ways it also kind of is. You have to travel to the venue each day, and that can take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, depending. And then you have your routine when you get there. You've got that 3 hour sprint of the show. But then there's this element that I always try to explain to people. It's like you go from this incredibly high frequency and this energy coming at you that's like a jet stream. And it's loud and it's exciting and there's all this stuff, right? And then you go into a silent hotel room or a silent tour bus,
Never thought
and
about that.
you're just kind of there with your thoughts,
Yeah.
and you're left on that high without any real sort of I don't know, come down. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we've all had to work in what we call a decompress, which is, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour just to sit, maybe have a bite of food or a drink and just kind of like calm things down and chat about what we experienced. Because if you don't have an outlet for that to go, you're just kind of sitting with it. It makes you feel a little crazy. So I would say the most important part of my day is probably my warm up and my warm down.
Wow. That's so great.
And I think one without the other, there's going to be an imbalance. Like I always say, they have to go hand in hand. And outside of that, it's just about getting to that, that hotel gym if you can, or like we mentioned before, taking a walk around the city just to get
Totally
your body
agree.
moving and prepare for the next one.
Ah, love that. I love that. Here at Calm, we've had over 180 million people download the product. And I often
Amazing.
tell people so many people who use the product today use us because of sleep. It's really hard to sleep at night. Just
Yeah.
curious, what's your relationship with sleep? How well do you sleep at night?
I sleep pretty well. I definitely sleep through just about anything. That's the crazy part.
That's
I'm
awesome.
a hard sleeper, yeah, but it takes me a while to get to bed, admittedly. And I've,
I have an app
I've
for that.
used I've used Calm. And it's been really helpful. I think that much like the cross section of the growth in the technology around diabetes management and other uh, health tech that's really changed all of our lives, I think that Calm and others who have found a way for us to get creative with our wind down and even to put our mind at ease um, and feel less alone even for some people I think is a really important thing. Loneliness is a real killer and it
Yeah,
exists um, I think even more today because that device feels like we are in the world when actually we're not, we're
so
disconnecting
true.
with the world around us.
True.
So it's been great to have these incredible tools to be able to feel a little more connected and more at ease.
Totally, totally. And thank you on that. And before you wrap, I always like to ask a couple of questions at the end. You used to call it a speed round. It's not a speed round. But here are the three questions, and we can take it any which way, which is what's something about yourself that might surprise others?
Something about me that might surprise others. I think I've been characterized in the past as being sort of serious or intense or whatever. Um, I I actually think that once you get to know me, I'm quite easygoing and uh, you know, I love to laugh more than anything in the world. So that's something I think surprises people because I think they think I'm sort of all work all the time. But no, I do love to have a good laugh and yeah, I'm not that serious.
I love that. I love that. That's tell that to my own kids. I have that as well. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're so serious," but I love that belly laugh.
Yeah.
You inspire. You're doing so much. Musician, actor. You're co-founder, tech, and you inspire so many people out there today. Who inspires you?
I'm gonna say a few people do. My parents inspire me watching how, gracefully they raised four kids and now five granddaughters. Incredible.
Oh my God.
They're just amazing grandparents and amazing parents in general. My wife certainly inspires me. She's balancing so much all the time, but she's so present with everything that she's balancing, and she also goes out of her way to make the people around her feel loved and heard, and also challenges them, and I think really uh, kind ways. There are people that push their loved ones to be the best they can or accomplish their goal, and sometimes it can feel intense. But she does it with this grace and really uplifting spirit that I think has been amazing to watch those around her thrive because of that. And then, of course, my daughter. I'm amazed every day the person she's becoming, and the journey that she went on early in life having been born prematurely and just to see what she's blossoming into is pretty profound.
Ah, love that. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. And finally, what is your favorite way to recharge?
My favorite way to recharge uh, is I would say just time with my family. We went on a nice long walk down the Hudson Highway, the West Side Highway there yesterday, and stumbled upon a swing set and just were there for 30 minutes, and there was an ease and a simplicity to that I think sometimes we overlook. We think we got to plan out something. It has to be whatever it has to be, but we can just discover a swing set along a nice walk
Ah,
on the river, and that's enough today.
that's so good. That's so good. And listen, just to wrap, and thank you so much for taking the time. This is so great. You're such a great human being. I love this conversation. I could have just kept going, but in the interest of time, I know we got to cut it. But if folks want to learn more about Dexcom or beyond type 1, where can they go? Where can they find more information? Can you tell us more?
Yeah, great question. There's a ton of resources on Dexcom's website, Dexcom.com. And then, they're obviously present on social as well. And they do some amazing work with not just me, but a network of Dexcom warriors. So basically other advocates who have different journeys, with their diabetes management. And it's so fun for me to hear those stories as well. So go to Dexcom socials on Instagram and TikTok, of course.
Of
And
course.
then, for Beyond Type 1, beyondtype1.org, check that out as well, please. And we're on social. My favorite thing is our Instagram presence. I feel like is really something that sets us apart. It's got a really different look than your typical nonprofit centered around diabetes management and cure. And so it's been really fun to work with them and to get to be a part of that team. So yeah, please go check those out. But really, I'm thrilled to get to talk to you. This was a wonderful conversation, and I'm hopeful that Kaylee, you said, right? Your daughter's name is
Yeah, Kaylee.
Kaylee. Hope that she has a great first year at school. It's exciting.
Thank you so much. You made my day. Thank you all for listening. Appreciate you for being here today. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, David.